Welcome to Random Scriptures 4, Part 3. I read from the Institute for Scripture, the Institute for Scripture Research, the ISR, because it takes a direct translation from Hebrew to English, Greek to English, and Aramaic to English. Yah is the Elohim of the heavens and the earth, the first and the last and the only, and he's extremely jealous. He's so jealous that he doesn't even want the names of idols or mighty ones to come to our lips. And Yah is short for YahWeh, Yahweh, Yod-He, Vav-He. It's like saying Dan, Daniel, Daniel with an E. What is the difference and does matters when people say that Phil, Bob, Sam, and Aaron are the same name when no, they're not. And no one in their right mind would ever believe that, and only a fool would believe that a hammer could force its creator to do anything, and there was no letter J in the Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic texts, because the letter J is about 600 years old, while the son of Elohim, Yahoshua, died on a stake for the sins of all of humanity over 2,000 years ago, and a direct translation from Hebrew to English, Yahoshua is Joshua. And I strongly believe that the son of Elohim's name, Yahoshua, means Yahweh is salvation. This is Numbers 30, and then it goes Numbers 24, then Numbers 6, then Leviticus 26, then Leviticus 18 and 19, and then Genesis 1, 2, and 3. And that'll conclude the end of part 3. Hopefully I can get there in time, because my video storage space, stuff like that, I already have part 1 that's uploading. Honestly, there would have only have been 2 parts to this whole thing, but little tiny details here and there that don't really matter anymore. There's 3 parts. Oh well. Yeah, so hopefully I can get through it all before my phone's like, oh, you've run out of space. Because since I don't take, my phone's been like, oh, we want to track you. We want all this cool special garbage COVID crap. Let's call it what it is. At first I started calling it what they prefer to use the terms, but I'm telling you what it is. It's crap. Completely stripping you of your constitutional rights. Anyways, that's a whole other story for another time. You should be following Yah's constitution anyways, which is much, much better than any man constitution that they could ever accompany or accomplish or even imagine. They couldn't even fathom Yahweh's constitution. There's a reason why they dumped it for man's. And there's a reason why they don't worship Yah, they worship God instead. Like, come on now. But as a fellow human once said, Yahweh will know, or Yahweh knows who his people are. Numbers 30. And Moshe spoke to the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, This is the word which Yahweh has commanded. When a man vows a vow to Yahweh or swears an oath to bind himself by some agreement, he does not break his word. He does according to all that comes out of his mouth. Or if a woman vows a vow to Yahweh and binds herself by some agreement while in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow and the agreement by which she has bound herself, and her father has kept silent towards her, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement with she has bound herself stands. With which she has bound herself stands. But if her father forbids her on the day that he hears, then none of her vows nor her agreements in which she has bound herself stand, and Yahweh pardons her because her father has forbidden her. And children are under their parents, so if their parents say no, then ultimately what the child says means absolutely nothing. Of course, if you were an abusive parent back then, they also just killed you, so that didn't exist. For people who are like, well, what about these parents? Or what about those parents? They were executed. Based on Yah's constitution, they were executed. Stoned to death or burned alive. Trust me, people like that didn't exist. They were killed off. And then, greed and all that stuff just slips in, and people decide that they no longer want to follow Yah's way. They want to do man's way, because man's way is more fun. Even though more fun also means you're stripping rights from other people so that you can enjoy yourself. That's wrong. I don't agree with that. Um, but if she at all belongs to a husband while bound by her vows or by a rash utterance from her lips by which she bound herself, and her husband hears it, and he has kept silent towards her on the day that he hears, then her vows shall stand, and her agreements by which she bound herself do stand. But if her husband forbids her on the day that he hears it, then he has nullified her vow which she vowed, and the rash utterance of her lips by which she bound herself, and YahWeh pardons her. But any vow of a widow or a divorced woman by which she has bound herself against stands against her, and if she vowed in her husband's house or bound herself by an agreement with an oath, and her husband heard it and has kept silent towards her or did not forbid her, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement by which she bound herself stands. And if her husband clearly nullified them on the day he heard them, then whatever came from her lips concerning her vows or concerning the agreement binding her, it does not stand. Her husband has nullified them, and YahWeh pardons her. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict her being, let her husband confirm it, or let her husband nullify it. But if her husband is altogether silent at her from day to day, then he confirms all her vows or all the agreements that bind her. He confirms them because he kept silent towards her on the day that he heard. But if he nullifies them after he has heard, then he shall bear her crookedness. These are the laws which YahWeh commanded Moshe between a man and his wife, and between a father and his daughter in her youth in her father's house. So majority talking about children. Majority. Because then again, there's those who also are like turning 18 or the age. Their age back then to become an adult was 25 years old. And it's slowly been dwindling down and dwindling down and dwindling down. And I even heard talks. I hope this never happens. Please, YahWeh, don't ever let this happen in my lifetime. But where I'm from, they were thinking about dropping the age of consent from 16. Yeah, it's at 16, by the way, to 13. And the age to vote from 18, which by again should also have been 25. It should be 25 straight down the board. You want to vote 25. You want to be an adult 25. You're still a child at 18. You still act like a child at 18. If you act like a child when you're 25, you're still a child. I don't care what you think. Your number means nothing. I've met 65-year-old children that are worse than my 4-year-old nephew. My 4-year-old nephew is more of a man than most men I see out on the streets, so age means nothing. Now, when it comes to sex, age means everything. 25. 25. That's what I put it at. You're not an adult until you turn 25. I mean, the people that did service for YahWeh, they also started. Guess what? It wasn't 20 years old. It was 25. Because that's when you became an adult. So when people think that people were having sex with children, they were more than likely under the age of 25 and more than likely still over the age of 18. Which, then again, to them, it didn't matter if you were 24 or 18. You're a child. But they still considered young adults. They still consider youth to be young adults too, and they're not yet 18. At least back in the day in the Bible, they considered young adults. The almost end of teenager years was 20. 20. Not 18, not 17, not 16, 20. But I would go at 25. Numbers 24. I don't wish to set the world on fire. Numbers 24. And when Bilam, B-I-L apostrophe A-M, that's the prophet we're talking about in, it's either the first part or the second part, but anyways. And when Bilam saw that it pleased YahWeh to bless Israel, he did not go as at other times to seek to use sorcery, but he set his face toward the wilderness. And Bilam lifted up his eyes and saw Israel encamped according to their tribes, and the spirit of Elohim came upon him, and he took up his proverb and said, the saying of Bilam son of Beor, and the saying of the man whose eyes are opened, the saying of him who hears the words of El, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls down with eyes opened wide. How good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel, like wadis that stretch out, like gardens by a river, like aloes planted by YahWeh, like cedars beside waters. He makes water flow from his buckets. Excuse me. He makes water flow from his buckets, and his seed is in many waters. Excuse me. His sovereign is higher than Agag, and his reign is exalted. El, who brought him out of Mitzrayim, is for them like the horns of a wild ox. He devours nations, his enemies, and he breaks their bones, and with his arrows he smites. He bowed down, he lay down like a lion, and like a lion who would rouse him, and like a lion who would rouse him. Seriously, who would poke a lion and be like, fight me? It's just a human with bare hands. Come on, fight me. Only a fool would do such a thing. Blessed is he who blesses you, and cursed is he who curses you. Then the displeasure of Balak burned against Bilam, and he struck his hands together. Balak then said to Bilam, I summoned you to curse my enemies, and see, you have kept on blessing these 3 times. So again, every single time Bilam came up to say something, Balak wanted him to say something against Israel, but Bilam told him in the beginning, I am only going to say what YahWeh says to me to say to you. He did not try to curse. He did not go there to curse Israel. He was told in advance, and he told them in advance, by the way, I'm only going to be saying what YahWeh tells me to say, and more than likely he's going to tell me to bless them. Anyways, let's get on to it, yeah. These 3 times, and now flee to your place. I said I would greatly esteem you, and see, YahWeh has kept you back from esteem. And Bilam said to Balak, did I not also speak to your messengers whom you sent to me, saying, if Balak should give me his house filled with silver and gold, I am unable to go beyond the word of YahWeh to do either good or evil. Of my own heart, what YahWeh speaks, that I speak. And now see, I am going to my people. Come, let me advise you what this people is going to do to your people in the later days. And he took up his proverb and said, the saying of Bilam, son of Beor, and the saying of the man whose eyes are opened, the saying of him who hears the words of El and knows the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls down with eyes opened wide. I see him, but not now. I observe him, but not near. A star, capital S, a star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter, capital S, scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and shall destroy all the sons of Sheth, and Edom shall be a possession, and Seir shall be a possession. Enemies, and Israel is doing mightily. And out of Jacob 1, capital O, 1 shall rule and destroy the remnant from Ar, A-R. He then looked on Amalek, and he took up his proverb and said, Amalek was first among the nations, but his later end is to perish forever. He then looked on the Quainites, and he looked up his proverb and said, Firm is your dwelling place, and your nest is set in the rock, but Quain is to be burned. Till when does Ashur keep you captive? And he took up his proverb and said, Oh, who does live when El does this? And ships shall come from the coast to Kittim, and they shall afflict Ashur and afflict Eber, and so shall he also perish. And Bilam arose and left and returned to his place, and Balak also went his way. By the way, Balak was completely destroyed. And they killed Bilam too. All because he actually went there. He didn't prophesy against them. He didn't curse Israel. He only blessed them because he only spoke what Yahweh told them to speak. But because the people on the ground saw him up there, they assumed that he was cursing them, which is why it says later on that Bilam was cursing them, because they assumed that the reason why he's there is to curse them, not realizing his actual part of it was that he was blessing Israel every single time. Did not curse them once. But looks can be deceiving. So you should never assume based on what you see. Numbers 6. Surprised it's letting me. Praise Yahweh. Numbers 6. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When a man or woman does separate by making a vow of a Nazarite to be separate to Yahweh, he separates himself, fancy English, himself, from wine and strong drink, which means he doesn't separate other people, he just separates himself, the one doing it, himself, herself. They just say he, even though they made it clear several times in the word that he and she, regardless, he is how they say it. Talking about everyone. He separates himself from wine and strong drink. He drinks neither vinegar of wine nor vinegar of strong drink. Neither does he drink any grape juice, nor eat grapes or raisins. All the days of his separation he does not eat whatever is made of the grapevine, from seed to skin, all the days of the vow of his separation. A razor does not come upon his head until the days are completed, for which he does separate himself to Yahweh. He is separate, he is set apart. He shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow long all the days of his separation to Yahweh. He does not go near a dead body. He does not make himself unclean for his father or for his mother or his brother or his sister when they die, because his separation to Elohim is on his head. All the days of his separation he is set apart to Yahweh, and when anyone dies beside him in an instant, suddenly, and he has defiled the head of his separation, then he shall shave his head on the day of his cleansing. On the 7th day he shaves it, and on the 8th day he brings 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons to the priest to the door of the tent of appointment. And the priest shall prepare one as a sin offering and the other as an ascending offering, and shall make atonement for him because he sinned by reason of the dead body. And he shall set apart his head on that day, and shall separate to Yahweh the days of his separation, and shall bring a male lamb 1 year old as a guilt offering. But the former days are not counted, because his separation was defiled. And this is the Torah of the Nazarite. when the days of his separation are completed, he is brought to the door of the tent of appointment, and he shall bring his offering to Yahweh, one male lamb a year old, a perfect one, as an ascending offering, and one ewe lamb a year old, a perfect one, as a sin offering, and one ram a perfect one, as a peace offering, and a basket of unleavened bread, cakes of fine flour mixed with oil, and unleavened thin cakes anointed with oil, and their grain offering with their drink offerings. We no longer have to make blood sacrifices because Yahoshua became the blood sacrifice. And the priest shall bring them before Yahweh and prepare his sin offering and his ascending offering, and he shall prepare the ram as a slaughtering of peace offerings to Yahweh, together with the basket of unleavened bread, and the priest shall prepare its grain offering and its drink offering. The Nazarite shall shave the head of his separation at the door of the tent of appointment, and shall take the hair from the head of his separation, and shall put it on the fire which is under the slaughter place of the peace offerings, fancy English offerings. I'm not sure if you ever smelled the smell of burning hair, but it's disgusting. Like, disgusting. Yeah, disgusting to think about. And the priest shall take the boiled shoulder of the ram, and one unleavened cake from the basket, and one unleavened thin cake, and put them upon the hands of the Nazarite, after he has shaved his hair of separation, hair of in fancy English, separation. Then the priests shall wave them a wave offering before Yahweh. It is set apart for the priest, besides the beast of the wave offering, and besides the thigh of the contribution. Let's just say another 10,000 times in a row. It is set apart for the priest, besides the beast of the wave offerings, and besides the thigh of the contribution. And afterwards the Nazarite shall drink wine. This is the Torah of the Nazarite, who vows to Yahweh the offering for his separation. And besides that, whatever else his hand is able to provide, according to the vow which he takes, so he shall do according to the Torah of his separation. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, This is how you bless the children of Israel. Say to them, Yahweh bless you and guard you. Yahweh make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahweh lift up your face upon you and give you peace. Lift up his face upon you and give you peace. Thus they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I myself shall bless them. Amen. Leviticus 26. Amen. Just landed right on it. There is a pen that I am looking for. Here we go. Just something in number 6. I'm not going to mark it down with my pen in the Bible. There we go. Mark it down in my book. My bookie, so that I can give it a quick lookie when I'm done. Leviticus 26. Do not make idols for yourselves, and do not set up a carved image or a pillar for yourselves, and do not place a stone image in your land to bow down to it. For I am Yahweh your Elohim. Guard my Sabbaths and reverence my set apart place. I am Yahweh. If you walk in my laws and guard my commands and shall do them, then I shall give you rain in its season, and the land shall yield its crops, and the trees of the field yield their fruit, and your threshing shall last till the time of the grape harvest, and the grape harvest shall last till the time of sowing, and you shall eat your bread until you have enough, and shall dwell in your land safely, and you shall give peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and no one make you afraid. And I shall clear the land of evil beasts, and not let the sword go through go through your land, excuse me, and you shall pursue your enemies, and they shall fall by the sword before you, and 5 of you shall pursue 100, and 100 of you pursue 10,000, and your enemies shall fall by the sword before you, and I shall turn to you and make you fruitful, and shall increase you, and shall establish my covenant with you, and you shall eat the old supply, and clear out the old because of the new. And I shall set my dwelling place in your midst, and my being shall not reject you. And I shall walk in your midst, and shall be your Elohim, and you shall be my people. I am YahWeh, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from being their slaves, and I have broken the bars of your yoke and made you walk upright. But if you do not obey me and do not do all these commands, if you reject my laws, or if your being loathes my right ruling, so that you do not do all my commands, but break my covenant, I also do this to you, and I shall appoint sudden alarm over you, wasting disease and inflammation, destroying the eyes and consuming the life. And you shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it, and I shall set my face against you. Not I shall eat my face against you. That's just, yeah. And I shall set my face against you, and you shall be smitten before your enemies, and those who hate you shall rule over you, and you shall flee when no one pursues you. And after all this, if you do not obey me, then I shall punish you 7 times more for your sins, and I shall break the pride of your power, and shall make your heavens like iron, and your earth like bronze, and your strength shall be spent in vain, and your land not yield its crops, nor the trees of the land yield their fruit. And if you walk contrary to me, so the opposite to me, and refuse to obey me, I shall bring on you 7 times more plagues according to your sins, and send wild beasts among you, which shall bereave you of your children, and I shall cut off your livestock and make you few in number, and your highways shall be deserted. And if you are not instructed by me by these, but walk contrary to me, excuse me, and if you are not instructed by me by these, but walk contrary to me, then I shall walk contrary to you, and I myself shall strike you 7 times for your sins, and I will bring on you an avenging sword, a covenant vengeance, and you shall gather together in your cities, and I shall send pestilence among you, and you shall be given into the hand of the enemy. When I have cut off your supply of bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall bring back to you your bread by weight, and you shall eat and not be satisfied. And if in spite of this you do not obey me, but walk contrary to me, then I shall walk contrary to you in wrath, and I myself shall punish you 7 times for your sins. And you shall eat the flesh of your sons, and eat the flesh of your daughters, and I shall destroy your high places, and cut down your sun pillars, and put your carcasses on the carcasses of your idols. And my being shall loathe you, and I shall turn your cities into ruins, and lay your set-apart places waste, and not smell your sweet fragrances. And I shall lay the land waste, and your enemies who dwell in it shall be astonished at it. And I shall scatter you among the nations, and draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desert, and your cities ruins. And the land enjoy its Sabbaths as long as it lies waste, and you are in your enemies' land. Then the land would rest and enjoy its Sabbaths. As long as it lies waste, it rests for the time it did not rest on your Sabbaths when you dwelt in it. As for those of you who are left, I shall send faintness into their hearts in the lands of their enemies, and the sound of a shaken leaf shall cause them to flee, and they shall flee as though retreating from a sword, and they shall fall when no one pursues, and they shall stumble over one another as from before a sword when no one pursues, and you shall be unable to stand before your enemies, and you shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And those of you who are left rot away in their crookedness of your enemies' lands, and also in their fathers' crookednesses rot away with them. But if they confess their crookedness and the crookedness of their fathers with their trespass in which they trespassed against me, and that they also have walked contrary to me, and that I also have walked contrary to them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies, if their uncircumcised heart is then humbled, and they accept the punishment of their crookedness, then I shall remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Yitzhak, and also remember my covenant with Abraham, and remember the land, for the land was abandoned by them, and enjoying its Sabbaths while lying waste without them, and they were paying for their crookedness because they rejected my right rulings, and because their being loathed my laws. And yet for all this, when they are in the land of their enemies, I shall not reject them, nor shall I loathe them, so as to destroy them and break my covenant with them. For I am Yahweh their Elohim. Then I shall remember for their sake the covenant of the ancestors, whom I brought out of the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, before the eyes of the nations, to be their Elohim. I am Yahweh. These are the laws and the right rulings, and the Torah, T-O-R-O-T, so the plural of Torah teaching. So law instead of laws, basically. Plural of Torah, teaching. So teachings, teaching and teachings. Or Torah is teaching, and Torah is teachings. Which is kind of what I was trying to say, but I was just saying it in a way that probably didn't make sense to people. Which Yahweh made between himself and the children of Israel on Mount Sinai by the hand of Moshe. The Torah is for the seed of Abraham. If you love the Son and you therefore love the Father, because if you don't love one, then you don't love the other. It's a two-way street. You have to love one. You have to love both in order to say you love one. So if you don't love the Father and you don't love the Son, then you don't follow the Torah, therefore you're not a seed of Abraham. Vice versa, if you are of the seed of Abraham, then you are to follow his commands. If you love Yahweh, then you love the Father, and if you love the Father, you will do what he commands you to do. In other words, if you are one of his people, then you are of the seed of Abraham, simply by choosing to follow Yahweh's word. Leviticus 18 and 19. Calling all Satanists, come worship our idols. They're standing right there at the front door. It's even all around our church. You can call that congregation of demon worshippers. Leviticus 18. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, I am Yahweh your Elohim. Do not do as they do in the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, where you dwelt, and do not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you, and do not walk in their laws. Do my right rulings and guard my laws to walk in them. I am Yahweh your Elohim. And you shall guard my laws and my right rulings, which a man does and lives by them. I am Yahweh. No one is to approach anyone of his own flesh to uncover his nakedness. I am Yahweh. The nakedness of your father or the nakedness of your mother you do not uncover. She is your mother. You do not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's wife you do not uncover. It is your father's nakedness. The nakedness of your sister, the daughter of your father, or the daughter of your mother, whether born at home or elsewhere, their nakedness you do not uncover. The nakedness of your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter, their nakedness you do not uncover, for theirs is your own nakedness. The nakedness of your father's wife's daughter brought forth by your father, she is your sister, you do not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's sister you do not uncover, she is your father's flesh. The nakedness of your father's sister you do not uncover, for she is your mother's flesh. The nakedness of your father's brother you do not uncover, you do not approach his wife, she is your aunt. The nakedness of your daughter-in-law you do not uncover, she is your son's wife. You do not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your brother's wife you do not uncover, it is your brother's nakedness. The nakedness of a woman and her daughter you do not uncover, nor do you take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are her relatives, it is wickedness. And do not take a woman as a rival to her sister to uncover her nakedness while the other is alive, and do not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness in her monthly separation of uncleanness. In her monthly separation of uncleanness, or period. And do not have intercourse with the wife of your neighbor, nor or to defile yourself with her. And do not give any of your offspring to pass through to Molech, which is an idol. Pass through, in other words, they would burn their children. And do not profane the name of your Elohim. I am Yahweh. And do not lie with a male as with a woman, it is an abomination. And do not have intercourse with any beast to defile yourself with it. And a woman does not stand before a beast to mate with it, it is a perversion. Do not defile yourselves with all these, for by all these the nations are defiled, which I am driving out before you. Thus the land became defiled. Therefore I punish it for its crookedness, and the land vomited out its inhabitants. But you shall guard my laws and my right rulings, and do not do any of these abominations. The native nor sojourner who sojourns among you, because the men of the land who were before you have done all these abominations, and thus the land became defiled. So let not the land vomit you out for defiling it, as it vomited out the nations that were before you. For whoever does any of these abominations, those dwelling who do them shall be cut off from among their people. And you shall guard my charge, so as not to do any of these abominable laws which were done before you, so as not to defile yourselves by them. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Excuse me. Leviticus 19. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say to them, Be set apart, for I, Yahweh your Elohim, am set apart. Each one of you should fear his mother and his father, and guard my Sabbaths, not your Sabbaths, my Sabbaths, talking about Yahweh. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Do not turn to idols, and do not make for yourselves molded mighty ones. You go to that Catholic church that rings their stupid bells 4 times a day or whatever they do it, and literally there's like 6 statues standing outside, molded images standing outside, ushering you in. And then at the front where you sit down and pray and worship your more idols, you're standing there worshiping their molded images. It's demonic. It's right there, clear as day. Do not worship other molded images. And they're like, oh, God's God. Yeah, he is. Just an idol. Just an idol. Yahweh is not God. God is not Yahweh. Excuse me. Excuse me. I think I've been talking so much, so I'm starting to lose my voice. That is fine by me. I got plenty of things I gotta write anyways. Still gotta do the second part of Tyrants. If you don't know about that, I said that in part 1. Anyways, do not turn to idols, and do not make for yourselves molded mighty ones. I am Yahweh your Elohim. And when you slaughter a slaughtering of peace offerings to Yahweh, slaughter it for your acceptance, It is eaten the same day you slaughter it, and on the next day, and that which is left on the third day is burned with fire. So if it is eaten at all on the third day, it is abominable, it is not accepted, and he who eats it bears his crookedness, because he has profaned the set-apart offering, fancy English offering, of Yahweh. And that being shall be cut off from his people. And when you reap the harvest of your land, do not completely reap the corners of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest, and do not glean your vineyard, or gather every grape of your vineyard. Leave them for the poor and the sojourner. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Do not steal, do not lie, do not deceive one another, and do not swear falsely by my name, and so profane the name of your Elohim. I am Yahweh. Do not oppress your neighbor or rob him, fancy English, him. The wages of him who is hired is not to remain with you all night until morning. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block before the blind, but fear your Elohim. I am Yahweh. Do no unrighteousness in right ruling. Do not be partial to the poor or favor the face of the great, but rightly rule your neighbor in righteousness. Do not go slandering among your people. Do not stand against the blood of your neighbor. I am Yahweh. Do not hate your brother in your heart. Reprove your neighbor for certain, and bear no sin because of him. Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahweh. Guard my laws. Do not let your livestock mate with another kind. Do not sow your field with mixed seed, and do not put a garment woven of 2 sorts of thread upon you. Still don't understand that little tiny piece there. I understand the mixed seed because, things take longer to grow than others, so it creates a problem. And it makes sense not to let a goat mate with a sheep, but it doesn't make much sense to take sheep hair and goat hair, or sheep wool and goat hair, and weave them together. That would be a problem. But just because I don't understand it doesn't mean I should be allowed to do it. Excuse me. And when a man has intercourse with a woman who is a female servant engaged to a man, and to be ransomed, but she has not been ransomed nor set free, there should be an inquiry, but they are not put to death because she was not free, and she shall bring his guilt offering to Yahweh to the door of the tent of appointment, a ram as a guilt offering, and the priest shall make atonement for him with the ram of the guilt offering before Yahweh for his sin which he has done, and the sin which he has sinned shall be forgiven him. And when you come into the land and have planted all kinds of trees for food, then you shall reckon their fruit as uncircumcised for 3 years. It is as uncircumcised to you, it is not eaten, and in the 4th year all its fruit is set apart. Praises to Yahweh. Excuse me. And in the 5th year you eat its fruit, so that it increases its yield to you. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Do not eat meat, fancy English meat, with the blood. Do not practice divination or magic. Do not round the corner of your beard. I don't understand that. Nor destroy the corner of your beard. I've always thought about what is my corner of my beard, and I'll think about it now, and then once I'm done this video, more than likely I've already forgotten about it. Please, YahWeh, don't let me forget about this. The round. Do not round the corner of your beard. I only have 3 corners, I guess, would be like just underneath your ear on either side, and then your chin. And I don't know about you, but they're always round. I've never just shaved them to. Whenever I shaved, I literally shaved my whole face and it grew round. I didn't round it myself. And when there's a little tiny twiggy hair sticking out way above the rest, I just pluck it with my fingers. And I'm not trying to make my beard round, but I don't think my beard comes straight like that, like what I'm thinking. Nor destroy the corner of your beard, and do not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor put tattoo marks on you. I am YahWeh. Do not profane your daughter by making her a whore, so that the land does not whore, and the land becomes filled with wickedness. Guard my Sabbaths and reverence my set-apart place. I am YahWeh. Do not turn to mediums, and do not seek after spiritists to be defiled by them. I am YahWeh, your Elohim. Rise up before the gray-headed, and you shall favor the face of an old man, and shall fear your Elohim. I am YahWeh, and when a sojourner sojourns with you in your land, do not oppress him. Let the sojourner who sojourns among you be to you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you were sojourners in the land of Mitzrayim. I am YahWeh your Elohim. Do no unrighteousness in right ruling, in measurement of length, in weight, or in measuring liquids. Have right scales, right weights, a right ephah, and a right hin. I am YahWeh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, and you shall guard all my laws and all my right rulings, and do them. I am YahWeh. Amen. So the last little bit here is Genesis 1, 2, and 3. Genesis 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. And Elohim said, Let light come to be, and light came to be. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning one day. And Elohim said, Let an expanse come to be in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the expanse, and separated the waters and separated the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. And it came to be so. And Elohim called the expanse heavens, and there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the second day. And Elohim said, Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it came to be so. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the collection of the waters he called seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the plant that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it came to be so. And the earth brought forth grass and plant that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the third day. And Elohim said, The lights come to be in the expansion of the heavens, to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens, to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. And Elohim made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good, and there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the fourth day. And Elohim said, let the waters teem, Teem, with shoals, Shoals, of living beings, and let birds fly above the earth on the face of the expanse of the heavens. And Elohim created great sea creatures, and every living being that moves, with which the waters teemed, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And every winged bird according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and increase, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the fifth day. And Elohim said, Let the earth bring forth a living being according to its kind, the livestock and creeping creatures, fancy English creatures, and beasts of the earth according to its kind. And it came to be so. And Elohim made the beast of the earth according to its kind, livestock according to its kind, and all that creep on the earth according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground. I just want to point out that even the messengers, even Yahweh's messengers, get a lowercase letter. And Elohim created the man in his image. In the image of Elohim he created him, male and female he created them. And Elohim blessed them. And Elohim said to them, Be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over all creeping creatures on the earth. And Elohim said, See, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of the earth, of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping creature on the earth, in which there is a living being. Every green plant is for food. And it came to be so. Remember, this is before he made man, so every living creature could eat whatever they wanted on the earth that was made currently to date before he made man. And it came to be so. And Elohim saw all that he had made, and see, it was very good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed, and all their array. And in the seventh day Elohim completed his work which he had done, and he rested in the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and set it apart, because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim in creating had made. These are the births of the heavens and the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahweh Elohim made earth and heavens. Now no shrub of the field was yet on the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprung up, for Yahweh Elohim had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. But a mist went up from the earth and watered the entire surface of the ground. And Yahweh Elohim formed the man out of dust from the ground, and breathed into his nostrils breath of lives, and the man became a living being. And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden in Eden to the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground Yahweh Elohim made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided and became 4 heads. The name of the first is Pishon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Bdellium is there, and the Shoham stone, and the name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Hedelic. It is the one which goes toward the east of Ashur. And the fourth river is in the Euphrates. And Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to guard it. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, Eat of every tree in the garden, but do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it you shall certainly die. And of course, Adam and Eve, or Hoa being, we're not actually going to die that day, are we? Well, maybe not, but you would have lived forever until you had eaten that. So now you become mortal and you will die. Maybe not in that day, but in that day you're no longer immortal. Now you're immortal, and you did it to yourself. And then he guarded. I'll get there. And Yahweh Elohim said, It is not good for a man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as his counterpart. And from the ground Yahweh Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living being, that was its name to the man. So the man gave names to all livestock, and to the birds of the heavens, and to every beast of the field. But for the man there was not found a helper for him as his counterpart. So Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place, and the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one is called woman, because she was taken out of man. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, yet they were not ashamed. And the Nahash literally renders serpent, also Satan. And the Nahash, N-A-H with a dot underneath of it in the middle, A-S-H, was more crafty than all the lives of the field which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, Is it true that Elohim has said, Do not eat of every tree of the garden? Of course he didn't say that. And the woman said to the Nahash, We are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, Do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. And the Nahash said to the woman, You shall certainly not die, for Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and she didn't even bother to ask Yahweh, and a tree desirable to make one wise, and she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave it to her husband, who also refused to ask Yahweh if this was good or not with her. And he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And if they knew that they were naked, they could have gone for the tree of life, and they would have lived forever after that point, which would have been bad. And Yahweh was like, No, guard that. Anyone comes near it, kill them. Anyways, And they knew they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. And they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking about in the garden toward the wind of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim among the trees of the garden. And Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam and said to him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. And he said, Who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. Still, you're both equally at fault. And Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, What is this you have done? And the woman said, The Nahash deceived me, and I ate. And Yahweh Elohim said to the Nahash, Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you are to go and eat dust all the days of your life. And I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed, capital S seed. The messengers didn't get a capital S, so why should her seed get a capital S? Because again, this is a prophecy right here. Genesis 3, already a prophecy of Yahoshua Messiah. Genesis 3:15. And I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. To the woman he said, I greatly increase your sorrow and your conception, bringing forth children in pain, and your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you. And to the man he said, Because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, Do not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you are to eat of it all the days of your life. And the ground, fancy English, the ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you are to eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you return. And the man called his wife's name Hawa, H with a dot underneath of it, Awwah, because she became the mother of all living. And Yahweh Elohim made coats of skin for them, for the man and his wife, and dressed them, obviously not human skin, more than likely animal skin, more than likely animal skin. Anyways, for the man and his wife, and dressed them. And Yahweh Elohim said, See, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil, to know lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. ... Didn't want that. So Yahweh Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. And he drove the man out, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. I would love to go there just to see the tree. Just to see the tree. I wouldn't touch it. I'm not stupid. I know my place in life. I am a human. But I'd like to see it. That'd be cool. Pray to Yahweh that I would not go back on my word of saying I wouldn't touch it. Because seeing something like that, people more than likely would jump on it and be like, well, what's one touch, right? Like, what's one little button? What's one little step forward? What's another little step forward? What's another little step forward? And now you're gassing Jews in a gas chamber, and you thought it was just one little dinky little step. But it's not. Have a good night. I'm going to stop ranting about things that aren't biblical. I mean, the Holocaust was definitely biblical, but not in the sense that people think. Israel paid for the Holocaust so that they could become a nation, so they could defend themselves. I'm putting quotations over defend themselves. Because we know they're not here to defend themselves. They're in exile. It's not Israel that needs to defend itself. Babel wants to defend itself. Anyways. Yeah, have a good night. Praise Yahweh for this. This is part 3.